So I'm here in the garage gym, as you can see. Um, my plan is to kind of get into this natural bodybuilding space that is starting to become pretty popular and prevalent here on YouTube. I think for a while it was just the pure influencer type that could make a name for themselves, but we're really starting to see some big channels from the natural guys out there. So I just wanted to give you a little bit of background of my history, where I come from with training, and why I want to do this in the first place. I've always been interested in athletics to some degree. I started really first in martial arts when I was about 12. That was my first big passion.
Good right. That's a good one.
And I loved that. Was in it for several years. And then at about 17, I got into parkour. That was another big passion of mine. Had a lot of fun. Several years ago, well, about 8 now, I moved here to Charleston with one of my best friends. He got me into lifting, into working out, specifically from a bodybuilding standpoint. I'd never really had interest in it in the past, but once he got me in the gym, got to moving the weights around, seeing the differences, feeling the pump, it really clicked pretty much immediately that, like, yes, this is where my interest lies. This is what I want to do. I had a lot of fun those first 3 years and really developed a good base of my physique. I started off, a skinny little 135 kid. I put on a decent amount of muscle pretty quickly. But about 3 years in, I really started to experience some burnout and loss of motivation and not really knowing why I was training anymore. And that's when a friend of mine introduced me to starting strength. Yes, I know. I got into that, went down that rabbit hole, and look, it wasn't all bad. There was a lot of good that came out of it. I learned a lot. I got a lot stronger very quickly. And that was the appeal and the draw of, okay, I'm making progress again. I'm hooked. Here we go. And so for a good 3 years, I really was in the strength-only mindset. I made a big shift. And not in a good way, because I kind of got brainwashed into all the stuff that I was doing in the past with bodybuilding was inferior or, unworthy somehow of being pursued. And, all that mattered was strength. Strength is a perfectly worthy pursuit as well. It's great. But ultimately, I did get into lifting for the physique, for the aesthetic. And I think on some level, anyone who trains has goals there. They want to look bigger, look better, fill out their shirt more. I think that's natural, whether you admit it to yourself or not. So about 3 years into strength focused, I sort of started to experience the same thing. Not sort of, very much so. Started to experience serious burnout and starting to dread going to the gym again. And that was a big red flag for me. So I started gradually working my way back into more hypertrophy or bodybuilding focused training. I was isolating triceps more first. I had a goal of getting a bigger bench press, so I knew if I can get my triceps bigger, that's only going to help. And so I really started incorporating more regular tricep isolation, and I started to really enjoy it. I started to feel a pump again, and remembering what that was like and how gratifying that was. And this sort of shift started to happen where I was dreading the major compound lifts that are supposed to be the bread and butter, and really looking forward to the isolations or accessory lifts. I really started to focus on that, and the more and more I felt these changes, I was like, okay, what am I doing here? I need to get back to isolation. It's what's motivating me to work out. I don't want to stop working out, so I'm going to start to pursue that again. Watching some people on here has helped me realize that there's nothing wrong with bodybuilding, with wanting to bodybuild. You can do it as a natural. You should do it as a natural, in my opinion. I'm thankful to this community that is really becoming, I believe, more and more popular on here, of genuinely natural lifters who are doing great things, putting out great content. When I talk about some of these guys, specifically, I want to mention Basement Bodybuilding. I started watching him, I'd say fairly early on in him starting his channel, about a year or so back. He was one of the big influences for making me realize, okay, yeah, I want to bodybuild again, and there's nothing wrong with that. His story of going off into the strength route, thinking that, you know, if you hit these performance numbers, it will result in these aesthetic gains. So just diving headlong into that really resonated with me. So, you know, shout out to all of those guys. Basement Bodybuilding, obviously, Jeffrey Verity Schofield, Alex Leonidas, there's several others. They've done great things for building up this community, and hopefully I can be a part of that too. That's really my intent, is to, you know, go over some of my training philosophies, some of my training ideas, things that I've learned. I've learned a lot during these years of training. I'm by no means the authority on any of this, but I think I've learned enough to really put some of my knowledge out there and maybe help someone else out who is interested in doing this sort of stuff. So yeah, I'm just kind of making this intro to say, hey, that this is, you know, what my channel is going to be moving forward. Thanks for listening to my ramblings. I hope it was somewhat coherent. Hopefully I'll get a little more comfortable with this being in front of the camera and talking to you guys moving forward. If you're interested in any of the stuff I have to say, you know, leave a comment, like, subscribe, all that sort of stuff, and I really appreciate it. So I'll see you guys at the next one.